You need to know what hypothesis is, prediction. These two get confused quite often. You might ask, hypothesis is a suggestion or an explanation to a certain fact, whereas a prediction, it's a statement of what will happen in the future based on your experience, observation, or hypothesis. Okay, very similar, but a little bit different. You might get asked questions about what's the hazard and risk for this practical. Yeah, just know the difference. They normally come together, joined together. And then, yeah, what needs to be controlled to minimize the risk. So these are all sort of like keywords when planning. My most important thing with any practical is to know your variables. Whenever you get a question that comes up and it is on a practical, whatever happens, you have to identify all your variables. You got your, well, it was categoric and continuous, but this is your important one. You're independent. You must identify that straight away. You must identify the dependent, and then you need to identify your control variables. Okay. If it's a 6 mark or so, when you're reading through that question, you need, as you're reading that question, going, right, as I read this, I need to identify my independent. Which one is it that we're changing? Your dependent, what are we measuring? And then your control, what must stay the same for every single one to make it fair? Okay. Annotate away to your little heart's content when you're in an exam or got any questions like that. Okay, it's the most important thing, and it is what you will be asked about in your questions. Okay. Does everyone know what categoric and continuous is? Because they also determine maybe what graph you draw and stuff. So categoric is eye color, putting things into categories basically. With a graph, you'll have maybe a bar chart with this, with a gap between each of the variables. Whereas a continuous, so this is the most common one, and especially for biology, like for example, mass of potato. It could be shoe size or no, feet size or height. Anything that is on a continuous scale. So if you do bar charts on that, the bar charts must be touching each other. Okay, so that's really important. But you will typically 9 times out of 10 be asked to draw points on a graph and then a line of best fit. Okay, but get to know the difference between categoric and continuous, and have an example in your head that will help you understand that. Okay. Lots of, hang on, oh no, it's on 7 fair tests. So this comes up a lot. It could be saying, how are they making this a fair test, or how would we make this a fair test? To make it a fair test, only the independent variable must be changing. If you're not specifying how much water should be in every test tube, or if the water changes or the temperature changes and you're looking at pH, for example, it is not a fair test. It's like if you've got a brother or a sister and they get more ice cream than you, it's not fair. It really is not fair. Okay, so everybody must have equal amounts of ice cream is what I'm saying. Okay, otherwise it won't be fair. So that's what they mean by a fair test. Okay. Let's say what data is. Data is literally what you type in the graph. I think this is resolution. I'm seeing what else they've got under here. Range, calibration. So interval is readings. It doesn't come up as much, but understanding what interval means, it's like the gap between your readings. Like if you're doing pH 5, 6, 7, you've got an interval there. So you can choose something in between those intervals, especially if you're making it more accurate. Resolution, that comes up quite a lot. That might be something on a measuring cylinder or on scales. So your resolution is how accurate, how many decimal places are there after 0 or 0.1, 0.01. So you've got higher resolution when it's 0.01 compared to 0.1. That's that word. Calibration, that might be a fault. That could be something you could say as if like your water bath's not calibrated, your scales aren't calibrated, that could cause problems and inaccuracies in your data. And your range, same with the maths, is your lowest to your highest sort of thing. So lots of keywords on there and their understanding and some funny pictures.